Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. I reached out to Pastor Ball this afternoon asking him about his 20th anniversary. And I said, how'd it go? He said, it went great. He said, the only thing that was missing was you, talking about me. I said, well, that's kind, he had a good day. I said, if you can hang on for another 20 and I could be there probably at your 40th. I'll be 81. If somebody could check me out of the nursing home, I could probably go then, I think. So anyway, Matthew chapter 6, we're going to look at verse number 9 through 13. It's what is called the Lord's Prayer, the model prayer. And we want to kind of look at this sort of piece by piece. And so tonight we're looking at this, which art in heaven, part of this. It says in verse number 9, it says, after this manner therefore pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. John, will you mind praying for me? And the rest of the service, if you don't mind? Whatever you want to do. You stay there, you can come up here.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you as we come together tonight in your house, Lord. We thank you we come here to worship you, lift up your name above all others, Lord. We pray that you would just be now with this service, Lord. We pray you would speak to our hearts, each and every one. Let hearts be affected by your word. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. We looked last week at this, our Father part of this, that he starts with this family relationship. And he tells us the injunction is to pray. And all of us, no doubt, can do better there. Praying, not just more, but I think praying more thoughtfully, praying with more faith, praying about everything that we're doing, praying before we get started even, praying all the way through it, praying that we'd finish well, whatever it is we're trying to take care of. And so this beginning part of it, he says, our Father, which art in heaven. And so this is a place or a state that is above the commonplace. This is a different realm. This is a different world than we're talking about. In the scriptures, it talks about three heavens. The first heaven being what we'd think of as the atmosphere. You ever laid on your back in a field and you looked at the sky? You ever done that? Look at clouds. You ever look at them long enough where they begin to look like people and things? And I think probably everybody's done it. If you've never done that, you're missing out on something. But it says in Isaiah 55, verse 10, it says, for as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. And so we recognize that this heaven, the heavens, that is God's realm. God gives rain, God gives snow. We enjoy the sunshine. There are things about that are beyond me. You know how that all works. We need the sun. We need the rain. And so God has his hand in all that. But in a broader sense, there is the heavens we talk about that involve outer space. I was a kid that, as a kid, my mind was in outer space. I loved everything to do with science fiction, books about outer space and going to all these different planets. And if you're going to take me and it was going to be for free, I don't think I'd go today. I don't want to leave. I'd rather stay here. And so I don't want to get on the rocket. But it says in Psalm 19, it says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. It says in verse number 6, it says, his goings forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. That when you think of outer space, we're thinking about something that is vast, it is huge, it is immense, it seems to be infinite as far as we're concerned. As we get better and better telescopes, it seems you keep pointing it and there keeps there's a revelation of there's more past that. There's more beyond this. There was a man thought that they could be able to count the stars, and we've seen that is absolute foolishness. But we know that God says that He has named them all, and so our God is vast. And so we look at heaven, and we look at the sky, we look at the blue sky, we look at the clouds, we look beyond that, we see the stars and the planets, and we think, God did that. This is His handiwork. But there is something beyond that even. If you would turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. When we think about the heaven here, he says, which art in heaven. He's talking about the realm of God. It is a definite place. It is a place that we may think of the New Jerusalem, a city coming down from heaven. We think of those things. We think in John chapter 14 where it talks about where Jesus Christ said that he's going to the Father, and in His Father's house are many mansions. That is that heavenly abode. And so here in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse number 2, Paul says this. He said, I knew a man in Christ above 14 years of age, whether in the body I cannot tell, or whether out of the body I cannot tell. God knoweth. He says, such a one caught up to the third heaven. The first heaven would be the atmosphere. The second heaven would be outer space. The third heaven would be the abode of God. We believe that Paul is talking about himself there. He's trying not to be proud about it, but he's saying, I was transported to a place that I saw heaven. Heaven was opened up to me. In Revelation chapter 4, if you want to go there, we're going to spend a bit of time in the book of Revelation. I think if we're to understand this prayer, our Father which art in heaven, we need to know a little bit about what this place is like. What is heaven like? And so in Revelation chapter 4, verse number 1, it says, after this, John says this, he said, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And we think, that is what I think about when I think of heaven. I think of the place where God lives. That is His abode, His place, His home. And we know that out of this first heaven, the second heaven, the third heaven, James says in chapter 1, he says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, nor neither shadow of turning. And so we think about this. There are times that I pray, I'm looking towards heaven. I know that things come down from Him. Perfect timing, protection, health, the good gifts of friendship, salvation. And so we're thankful for that. And so we understand this. If you understand your Bible at all, you understand that He is everywhere present, but there is something about this that God dwells in heaven. And so we're trying to understand that. We're trying to take this, our feeble head, our minds, and understand this. And so when I look at the sunset or the sunrise, I see that and I think, God did that. I lay on my back and I look at the stars, and I think, God did that. I watch the falling snow and I think, God did that. And so I think He is here, but He is also there. He is there. And so, you know, I was reading something, and you're probably like me. I get all kinds of stuff in my email box, and if you don't, I'd like to know how you do that. And I try to unsubscribe from everything I can unsubscribe from. And I made a mistake one year. Went to a golf show up in Indianapolis. I signed up for every giveaway, and I think they've sold my name to everybody on the planet, it seems like. But one of these little things that come to me is a little news thing I get from time to time, and in that story is talk about dark skies. And that thing, one of the banner headlines in that article said that 80% of the world's population suffers from light pollution, from artificial lights. They cannot see the night sky, that there is a glow, there is a artificial light that blocks out the heavens from being seen. You know, to look at the sky, to look at the stars, to see all that is to move your mind towards God, I think, to see his handiwork. It says in Romans chapter 1, it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. And God uses two things to teach us that there is a God. One thing he uses is conscience. Everybody has a conscience. You can train or defile your conscience. But one of the other things is God uses creation. I mean, you begin to look around, and I think this may be a measure of your spirituality as you look at nature and you begin to see God did that. God made that way. God bent that certain way. God has developed that pattern throughout creation, and for you to see it. And I think, there may be a deceptive work of Satan going on, that he would like to cover up this world with artificial light so that we would miss the light of heaven. And so I want to see God. I want to see his hand at work. I'll tell you, Acts quotes, they quote a poet, says that they should seek the Lord if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. We look to the sky, but man, God is closer than the sky. I mean, heaven I think must be closer than we think it is. And so, unfortunately, sometimes our ability to grasp heavenly things is very limited. And so immediately out of the box in this prayer, the Lord Jesus Christ says, our Father, establishes that family relationship, but he's also pointing us towards the sky, pointing us towards heaven, that our God is different. He is here and he is there, and he is a powerful, powerful being. There are several things that I gleaned from a book I've been reading, some about this prayer. The author said that he and his wife went into a doctor's visit, and he said that the doctor, after doing some tests with his wife, he met with the husband. She was getting dressed, I guess, coming back to the room. He said, I just want to tell you, he said, this is bad. Gave them a very bad report. She came in and said, you probably don't have months to live. He said, there's really not anything, because of the aggressive nature of this, to do about this. He said, I would encourage you probably not to do treatment, to go home and prepare yourself for the end of your life. He said, in the midst of all that, he said, that's what they decided to do, not to do treatment. He said, but we did go home and we prepared ourselves for eternity. We began to prepare ourselves for heaven. He said, we did a deep dive on heaven. We began to look at heaven. And it began to whet their appetite for that, not to fear it, but to welcome it. I've written down some things here that he gave us that I'm going to kind of try to move through this as quick as I can. These things that we contend with here on earth that are going to be absent in heaven. And if our God is in heaven, it's because he is in heaven that they are absent. So the first thing, he said, we are free from the assaults of our enemy. And Satan is our enemy in this world. If you would go to Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20, verse number 10. Almost the end of the Bible there. There's quite a bit here about heaven, but I got to be honest, there's more I'd like to know about it. I think probably in my limited mind, there's only so much I could take in about it, though. And so, Revelation chapter 20, verse number 10, it says, he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, showed me, I've got wrong place, wrong chapter. It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. If we were making a movie or writing a book, we would make some kind of pitch story about this. God gives the demise of the devil one verse. It is done. It is taken care of. Take it, like taking out the trash. He said, we're done with this guy. And so heaven is going to be free from our enemy, the assaults of our enemy. We're done with him. That's over. Set aside. The second thing he said we'll be free from is the strain of separation. Heaven will be our abode. And just give me some liberty here. I'll just give you the reference. If you want to get these later, you can. 1 Thessalonians 4:14 says this. It says, for if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus, those that died as believers, will God bring with him? I think probably most of us have lived long enough that we have been separated from somebody that we love that knew the Lord. One of the people that I think of often is a guy I went to college with. He and his wife befriended me. They had 2 little girls, and he was an older married student. I was an idiot freshman, from the Indiana, and it's like they put their arms around me and loved on me and brought me to their home, and Larry let me be part of the mission work that he was doing there in a little chapel in Ringo, Georgia, and gave me some responsibilities, and I really took it for granted, I think. And Larry graduated from school before I did, and he took a position in a church in West Virginia and, as an assistant pastor. And I got word that I knew Larry had difficulty with seizures. He had a seizure, and I got word that he had a seizure one day, and he fell across that bed and smothered to death. And I think about that man. One day I'm going to see him again. And we won't have to suffer this thing of separation ever again. We'll be free from that. We'll be free from the burdens of tears. It says in Revelation 7, and in verse 7, verse 17, it says in, I don't want to blame Josh Gray for getting me crying here. Revelation 7:17 and Revelation 21:4 says the same phrase. It says, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. I think he's not just removing the tears, he's removing any reason for the tears. You look beyond that and you see that I'm removing any reason for you to even have to do that. And you can imagine a husband and wife going through this knowing that she's going to die soon. How liberating, freeing this would be to look at this again and again. We have in Revelation chapter 21, verse number 4, free from death. 21 verse 4 says that God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death. No more death. Oh, I'll tell you, what a thing. Death. Death's an awful thing, isn't it? To watch it, to see it happen to those that you love. Probably my first confrontation with death in my memory was my Uncle Tom. Billy got me hooked on this. I'm kind of got hooked in this genealogy thing, and just kind of tearing into it. He and I probably need to sit down, share some secrets, and there's so many things you can find in the library. There's so many things that you can know. And my Uncle Tom, I remember the morning my mom came into our room. My Uncle Tom, I loved him, and he was so kind to us. And he'd take me and my brother out, take us down to the river, and he'd swim in the river. I can't imagine just swimming in the river sometimes there, but he'd go in one place and pop up another. And as a little kid, we thought that was just the neatest thing. He'd go under again, come up somewhere else, and we'd try to find him, He had a dog named Coco. And my Uncle Tom was shot and killed. And I've been interested in the details. That's really, honestly, something that my family, they don't talk much about that. I'm interested in what happened. And so, as a little boy, I remember my first memory of going to a funeral home was his funeral. When I smell roses, and I love the smell of roses, but when I smell roses, I think of that funeral home. That place, I think of that place, standing in that place, looking at my Uncle Tom's casket. But there's coming a day, a place, our Father, which art in heaven, that will be free from death. No more death. He says on in this verse number 4, he says, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, and neither sorrow. No sorrow. Sorrow comes from regret. You ever done anything you wish you hadn't done? Made decisions that you wish you could go back and redo? We all have remorse. There'll be no more of that. He said, no more sorrow. Not just the sorrow of death, but the sorrow of silly, wrong decisions. There are things that probably most of us, if we were to be honest, if we were to be completely transparent with each other, there's probably one or two places in our life, if we could go back and redo that, we could talk about that. That was a big mistake. That was a problem there. I should not have done that. And so this will be a place where God dwells, where there will be no sorrow there. He goes on to say another thing. He said, nor crying, in the sense of crying out for truth, crying out, God, do you hear me? There will be no need for that. God will be there. I don't know if you've ever struggled with that. You want to know why. God, why is it happening? Why am I going through this? Why am I dealing with this? No need to cry. He is there. He is there. Look at this. We'll go on, and it says that no death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things shall be passed away. Free from pain. Some of you got up with pain. Anybody hurting today? Some of you are. Some of you are. Jeremy Critney, you're a young man. What are you in pain about? I'm sorry. Pray for you, buddy. Start that young. You know? I mean, we laugh about it, but some people deal with it all the time. It's a chronic thing. You're never away from it. But there's coming a place where there will be no pain, right? That'd be a great day. No pain. Freedom. You see, there's freedom. It just is a freeing. Heaven is a freeing place. It says in Revelation 21, verse number 22, this is something here that I found interesting. It says here, and I saw no temple therein. And the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. The temple of it. There's no structure there. There's no barriers that separate us along religious lines. We will all come to the same place that religiously we are going to think the same thing. It'll all be torn away. You know, we have a way of constructing things, and you know, I gotta think I'm right. You know, I think I'm right. It's funny. Yesterday, I did this funeral at this Holiness Church, and I told you that probably as a funeral home, they did probably the worst job I've ever had. I felt like I was all alone in this thing, you know. And I saw the pastor of the church. He kind of met me at the door there, and I kind of felt bad. It's his church, and I'm doing the funeral. I said, "Look, man, I hope this isn't awkward for us." I said, "I didn't try to insert myself into this, and I don't know. Maybe you should be doing." He said, "No." He said, "We're good. We're good." And so over the next couple hours, we'd talk just kind of back and forth, and he'd ask me a question, I'd ask him a question, and we're way more alike than we're different. And but there is this feeling each other out, you know. You ever do that? Wondering where people are at? In heaven, there won't be any of that. It would be open, free of all that, free of any barrier. Anything false that we believe will be laid aside. And there are probably some things, maybe, I don't think essential things, but probably some things that are not a big deal that I'll lay aside. And I'll come to a right place about that. And so, no structure, no temple there. That the Lord is the temple there. We'll enjoy, think of this, complete understanding with each other. How many times maybe you and I have come to a place where we had a misunderstanding? There'll be none of that in heaven. No misunderstandings. None of this having to come back and go, "Look, I'm sorry, I let my temper get in the way of that." It says in Revelation 21:25, it says, "In the gates of hell, the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there." No night. No night. The need of sleep will be gone. That'd be a strange thing, won't it? Free from the draw of defilement. We're not to love the world, nor neither the things that are in the world, but it says in Revelation 21:27, it says, "There shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they that which are written in the Lamb's book of life." You know, that is a battle, isn't it, that we all deal with, that's being drawn away of our own lusts, this thing that pulls us into this world that is, you know, pleasure-filled, maybe. It's enticing. And so there'll be none of that, no wrestling with that. Free from that, free from that. Free from temptation, free from any draw of the world, free from deceit. Look in chapter 21, verse 27, it said, "Or maketh a lie." No deceit, no falsehoods, no lying. Isn't that kind of the struggle today that we're in? we're always trying to figure out what is the truth. Are they telling me the truth? If you're being sold something, are they being truthful about this? Hey, there's not going to be any lie there. Can you imagine dealing with this? The relaxation of all the tension of trying to figure out somebody else if they're lying to you. To be absolutely free with someone. The conversation is absolutely free of all that. Heaven, God's abode. Free from sin. It's a grand thing. He ended this, he said there's several concepts that are foreign to us, and I'll not get into all this just for time's sake. Let me just mention them. He said it would be a place of satisfaction and tranquility. He talks about the pure water of the crystal sea, you know, the water that proceeds out of the throne. You know, there are places at times that we said, I've been satisfied here, but there's always been that lingering fear that it will end. You ever had a day that you would say, this is almost like a perfect day? You ever had that kind of thing, that sensation? I've had what seems to be almost a perfect day. And you say, what a satisfying, wonderful day I had. But there's always in the back of your mind, this is going to end. This is going to turn sour. Something's going to happen to ruin it. But heaven won't be like that. It's not going to be like that. You're going to enjoy it and know that it is always going to be like that. There's going to be abounding life. Life there. It talks about it in chapter 22, verse number 2. It talks about the tree of life there. Real life. It talks about it in verse number 3, chapter 22, verse 3. It talks about the throne that is there, that there will be justice there, fairness. Fairness there in God's kingdom. There'll be also service to the Lord there, service to Him, and so that gives great purpose to everything you do. Anybody ever had to work on a line? You ever done anything where you did it on a line, where you made the same part day in, day out? You think, man, I made 2,300 of these this week, you know. Man, I got to make 2,500 next week. I had a job like that. Rocker arms. I had to polish rocker arm chips. I didn't even know what a rocker arm was when I got there. Learned all about them. I came to hate those things, you know. But in heaven, our service is with great purpose. It means something because why? Because it is for the Lord, and everything He has us do, I'll tell you, to be able to satisfy Him. Revelation 22, verse 4, we'll have perfect fellowship. Look at that verse there if you're there. It says, and they shall see His face. To see His face. You know, I like looking people in the face. I like to preach to people's faces. I look for faces in a crowd to connect with. That big old gruff guy at the funeral yesterday, I said, you help me today. He said, how'd I help you? I said, I looked for your face in the crowd and you were with me. You were with me. I said, I appreciate that. Help me. Can you imagine seeing literally the face of God? To look into His face? What fellowship that must be like to see. So heaven will be full of this perfect fellowship, perfect light, illuminating every aspect of life. There's no darkness in it at all. It is a realm of victory. It says at the last part of verse number 5, chapter 22, verse 5, it says, and they shall reign forever and ever, this victory. Heaven is God's natural environment, His abode, His habitat, His home. Look, I know He is everywhere present, but there is something special about this place where God lives. Now, you trusted Christ as your Savior. He delivered you from sin. He's going to make a home for you in heaven one day. He's delivered you from the guilt and the shame that we have connected with sin. We don't fear death anymore. We've been adopted into the family. All those wonderful things that come along with salvation we talk about. And one of the things that we talk about at salvation that happened was the very Holy Spirit of God moved into your life. That your body became literally the temple of God. I believe as we live for Him in this world, and live in obedience to Him, that there is some part of heaven that begins to be formed in our own heart and our life. It could literally be chaos all around you, and to know that God lives inside of you. That ought to help us in something that probably I'm not able to explain tonight. But I want that. I want some heaven on earth. And you know, some people don't ever have that. Excuse me. Some people have hell on earth all their life. And some of that is, I think, a lot of that by their own choice. They disregard God. And you know, if God were somehow to let a lost person go to heaven, somebody that has rejected His Son, I don't know if they would even enjoy it, to be honest. How could they enjoy heaven in a place where they've rejected Christ all their life, all their life, all their life? They wanted no part of Him. I mean, it'd be better than hell. But I want to begin to enjoy it here. Ready myself for heaven. You know, that man, that woman, she eventually passed, and he lived the rest of his life, and I think he remarried. And I tell you, that'd be quite a study, I think, to prepare you for that in the face of cancer, face of imminent death. But you know, I know this. One day I will see it. I will see it. I'll see Him. I'll see heaven. And we've not done it justice tonight. It is far, far, far better than I've talked about. So let's stand. Encourage yourself with the Word of God. Our Father which art in heaven, He wants us to be with Him there. He desires us to be with Him. Father, we thank You, Lord, for the night. I pray that You deal with us, Lord, in this moment. Lord, I think it'd be an awful shame tonight if someone left and they didn't know for sure that heaven would be their home. That'd be an awful thing to miss that. So, Lord, I pray that for somebody here tonight that doesn't know, that would like to know, that they would turn to You, Lord. They'd recognize the fact that they're a sinner. Nothing we can do to fix it, Lord, but turn to You and in trust, Lord, that You'd give us salvation. Lord, I thank You for saving my soul, Lord, years ago as a boy. Thank You, Lord, for dealing with my sin. Thank You for taking my place on the cross, bearing that load that I gave You. Thank You, Lord, for being the only innocent person, Lord, suffering for the guilty. We love You, Lord, and I pray that You'd help us this week to live with the light of heaven, Lord, in our thoughts. Help us, Lord, to live with anticipation, Lord, that it could be soon, Lord, that You'd come for us. Help us, Lord, not to dread. Help us, Lord, to be expectant people. Lord, we love You. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.